Hey, it's MVS here. Look, there are two types of key conversations that you can have. And when you know what type of conversation you realize that there's one thing that you do completely differently, depending on the type of conversation it is. And there's one thing that you must do exactly the same. So let's dig into that. Two types of conversations that I'm part of all the time in my work. One is a coaching conversation, being more coach-like, staying curious a little bit longer, rushing to action and advice giving a little bit more slowly. And the second type of conversation that I'm in all the time is more like an interview. You know, I have a podcast, 2 Pages with MVS, another podcast, The Best of MVS, which draws on the last 500 episodes I've done in various other podcast episodes. And I have to be different in those two different conversations. And the key difference is my relationship to story. When I'm trying to be more coach-like, I'm trying not to be seduced by the story. And it's very tempting. It's very tempting to say, oh, you're describing a situation, tell me more. I'd like to learn more about that. I'd like to hear what's going on. I need to know who the characters are. I need the context. I need the setting. I need the drama. But actually, I realize that my main purpose in being more coach-like is helping them figure out what's going on, helping them figure out what the real challenge is. And they already know the story. They don't really need to tell it to me. And in fact, I realize that when I'm asking for the story, I'm asking for help so I can have more data, more information, so I can then solve their problem for them. And I realize actually I'm trying not to solve their problem for them. I'm trying for them to see what the problem is and maybe see how they might solve it for themselves. So when I'm coaching somebody or trying to just be more coach-like with them, I'm not saying, hey, tell me more, tell me the story, tell me who's going on, tell me more about that character, tell me more about what you did next. I'm actually saying, well, what's at the heart of this for you, or what's the real challenge here for you? And that's very different when I'm interviewing somebody. I've really had to learn this because particularly with my podcast, 2 Pages with MBS, I am really trying to get to the interesting, heart, messy, confusing, glorious of my guests. And I need the stories. I've got to hunt down the stories because it's in the telling of the stories that we actually get to see another aspect of a person's humanity. I don't want the sound bites. I don't want just the ideas. I want to know who they are. So, and this has taken me a time to learn. I've been really kind of working on this. I'm trying to find the story. So I'm saying to them, not tell me the ideas or tell me what you're thinking. I'm saying, where did this all start? And was there a person who really influenced you in this? And what was the crossroads you're at? And what was the hard decision you had to make? And when you look at yourself now and you look at yourself then, what do you notice in terms of how far you've traveled? I'm trying to find ways to hear the story, to hear the glory, to hear the mess as part of that process. So 2 different conversations, 2 very different relationships with story. But there's a common theme, and this threads through every conversation, no matter what type of conversation. Those conversations are better when you're committed to connecting with that other person's humanity, where you're really interested in saying, I'm trying to figure out who you are. I'm trying to see you as the full human being that you are. I'm trying to maintain my curiosity. Because I think, you hear me talking about curiosity as a superpower all the time. I really think it has these 2 superpowers. Coaching, helping figure out what the real challenge is, but in all conversations, it's about staying present and staying connected and staying interested in the person with whom you're having that conversation. 2 different conversations, one very much about the story, one about avoiding being seduced by the story, both of them driven by the engine of curiosity. If you picked up a copy of my best-selling book, How to Begin, Start Doing Something That Matters, well, there are additional downloads and templates and videos you can get at howtobegin.com.